Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When teenagers in Germany are naughty or get on somebody's nerves, adults very often say, ach, come on, geh, wo der Pfeffer wächst. That means go where the pepper grows. And I now only realize that I'm actually exactly at the place where everybody wished me to be, you know. I am where the pepper grows. And what a beautiful place this is. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you my governing thought for today. It's actually a question. Why Kerala? Why Trivandrum? Well, a lot of people have asked me this question, especially people from the north of India. And they say, hey, why can't you build this leadership training center in Mumbai or in Delhi? Why do you have to go to the backwaters of India? And I must say, also Trivandrumites were not much more encouraging. They were saying, you know what, nobody wants to come down to Trivandrum. People don't see real perspectives in Trivandrum. And I think it's just a matter of transforming mindsets. And it's just a matter of allowing yourself to dream big. I would like to take you on a journey of dreams, a journey of transformation, a journey of opportunities. I would like to start this journey with Germany, then I would like to take you up to Tibet, to the top of the world, and from there I want to come back down to Trivandrum, down to the tip of India. And actually, I want to do this journey, especially for you Trivandrumites, who let you understand that Trivandrum has everything it needs to become a world vision incubator, to become a springboard for ethical social innovators. Trivandrum is the place we chose to start this global dream factory, to start an international leadership training center with the name Kanthari. And for all who don't know, Kanthari is a plant that grows wild in every backyard in Kerala. It's a very small but very powerful chili. It is not only spicy, it has a lot of medicinal values. It's a painkiller, it lowers the blood pressure, it lowers cholesterol, it makes you awake, it makes you alert, it's a taste maker and a change creator. And for us, a Kanthari is a perfect symbol for a new paradigm of leadership. Now, we see leaders as people who don't need to be everybody's darling necessarily. People who fire in the belly. People who have spice in their action. People who have the guts to challenge the status quo. And people who have the intrinsic interest to find innovative solutions for old and new problems. And therefore we call them Kantharis. Now, Kantharis, as you know, Kantharis are growing in the backyards of Kerala. Our Kantharis, our leaders, we find them in the margins of society. They all are critical thinkers and driven doers. They all have overcome pinching points in their lives. Or I can also say a Gandhi moment. You know, the Gandhi was thrown out of the train. He was sitting in the first class of a train, and at one point the conductor just didn't like his skin color and he threw him out of the train. This was probably one of Gandhi's pinching points. And he started to think, and he started to commit his life for a very, very good cause. And we are looking for these kind of Kantharis. We are looking for these kind of leaders who devote their life for a very, very good cause. people who are transformers of concepts, people who are innovators of solutions, and people who are visionaries of ethical social change. Now, when I think of my own life, I remember I got spiced by the first Kanthari flavor when I was about 10 years old. It was the time when I became blind, and I realized actually that I would become fully blind, and I must say I was horrified. I was afraid of blindness. I was afraid of social isolation. I was afraid, since I am a very, very visual person, I was afraid of darkness, I must admit. So my concept of blindness was not particularly a very, very pleasant one. Well, in these times, my father read books to me, and these were not particularly children books. I remember one book that had a very, very positive effect on me, and this book was an autobiography of Angela Davis. And Angela Davis was one of the famous Black Power activists in the USA. And she was also responsible for transforming the concept of black being ugly and inferior to black is beautiful. And when I heard this, I thought, if she can transform this concept of black as beautiful, how about discovering the beauty of blindness? And this idea helped me to figure out that there was a life with blindness. I could actually embrace the situation that I was in. Well, I experienced social isolation, I experienced discrimination, but I also waited for blindness, or for darkness. And even when I was fully blind, darkness never came. In fact, my visual cortex played a trick on me. And I understood that the world became much, much more colorful and beautiful because I could imagine everything. And imagination, as you all know from reading very good books, imagination can only be disappointed by reality. So when society started to pity me, I actually discovered the advantages of being blind. And I must say, I learned so much. For example, I learned to focus. I learned to concentrate. I learned to not be distracted by Hollywood and Bollywood. I learned also to be a much better communicator. I learned to listen to people. I learned to be clear, because as a blind person, if you are not communicating in a clear way, you are practically invisible. I also learned to be a good problem solver, because being thrown in a world for the sighted that is totally visual, you have to solve your problems day by day. And what I love most about being blind is that you're constantly depending on imagination, and you create an ability for imagining everything surrounding you. And I meet a lot of people, blind people, who are actually great visionaries, because a vision is nothing but imagining the non-obvious. So when I look back, I do believe that blindness was never a limiting factor. Actually, I rather felt limited by sighted people who projected their limits on me. And when I realized this, I had the opportunity to actually take my own lives in my own hands, and I had the opportunity to start to dream, to think of my future in the best possible way. And I thought I wanted to have an interesting future. I wanted to have a very, very adventurous future, and I wanted to be meaningful in life. And then I thought, where should this future be? And I thought, why not starting with Tibet? Tibet sounded challenging to me, and I thought, why not going there and starting some project? So I first decided to study Tibetology in Bonn University. During the studies, I created a Braille system for the Tibetan language. And later I found out that there was no such Braille system. So I went to Tibet and showed this Braille system to blind children in Tibet. And I found out that there are many, many blind children in Tibet. But also I found out that a lot of Tibetans have big, big prejudices about blindness. A lot of Tibetans think that blindness is a punishment for something they have done in their past life. And some Tibetans even think that blind people are possessed by demons. And I met children that were never touched by their parents. I also met children who were tied to a bed. They couldn't walk, they couldn't talk with the age of 5. Not because the parents were mean, but just because the parents wanted to overprotect them and didn't know what to do with a blind child. I met children who were sent out in the street to beg. And I met children who were hidden in a dark room for many, many years. Now, at first I was frustrated. I thought I cannot do anything here. But then I thought, I have to empower these kids. I have to empower them to become ambassadors for the blind, for other blind children. I wanted to start a school that is not just a home where I give them all the skills, like mobility skills and Braille skills, but I wanted to create a center which is much more like a preparatory center or like a springboard for children to jump back into society and say without shame and without shame and without embarrassment, with a lot of confidence, they should jump back and say, yes, I'm blind, so what? I can do so many things. Maybe I cannot do everything that a sighted person can do, but I can do things that sighted people can never dream of doing. For example, reading and writing when there's a power cut. Now, in the same trip, I met Paul Kronborg from Holland, and he's an engineer. And he was probably the only person that didn't think that I was totally insane when I talked to him about starting the first school for the blind in Tibet. And 1 year later, he quit his job and he came with me to start this whole adventure. And I must say it was an amazing adventure with a lot of challenges. But our biggest challenge was how to give these kids confidence. These kids who were not loved by their parents, these kids who were thrown with stones at, these kids who were basically outcast by society. How could we give them the confidence to dream about their future, to take their own future in their own hands? And we decided to start the Little Dream Factory. The Little Dream Factory is actually a whole week long thinking about one's own future. And we told these kids, don't think about the things that you can do or cannot do. We told them, think about the things that you really want to do. And now at first, these kids were too afraid to dream. But after a week, the place was boiling. And there was little Norbu. All of them had big stories. And little Norbu, he was sitting a little bit aside, and he had this mischievous smile on his face. And we said, Norbu, what's up? And he said, I want to become a taxi driver. Well, Paul said, well, just look at the taxi drivers in Lhasa. You know, there must be a great career for blind people. So this little boy, he became 9 and 10. And when he was 10, we asked him again, so what about your dream? And Norbu said, you know what? I know I cannot become a taxi driver because I am blind. But I can start and run a taxi company. And that's much better. So now, Paul and I, we had our own little dream factory. And in order to dream big, you need a good team of people. You need visionaries on your side, people who are not afraid to risk anything, people who are not afraid to fail. So we were good buddies in dreaming, and we started to dream big. We said, we don't want to have only a preparatory school. We also want to have a printing press for Tibetan Braille, English Braille, and Chinese Braille. We also wanted to have a farm. We are not farmers, but we wanted to have a farm, you know, with cheese factory. We love cheese. And we wanted to have a bio-bakery, and we wanted to have an animal husbandry, and a market gardening, and a handicraft workshop. And then, of course, we love massages, so we wanted to have a massage clinic. Why not, you know? And then we wanted to have, next to all these vocational trainings for blind people, we wanted to have a program that guides blind children and blind adults into self-integration, so they become proactive integrators. And after all that, we wanted to be redundant, because we thought that the best thing is that our students from the first and second generation, our blind kids, are taking over the whole show. Well, we showed this whole list to our donors back then, and you can imagine what they said. They said, you are nuts. You don't know what you're doing. Don't grab for the stars, stand on the ground. You are too small for this significant change. And I must say, we were stubborn enough not to listen. And we cut this dream down into small portions, into small digestible bites. And we gave it to some donors here and some donors there. And after 6 years, in hard work, I must say, with a lot of great team members, we managed to do everything. And we became redundant. So now, what do you do when you are redundant? You start to develop new dreams and new ideas. And we came up with this dream of developing a global dream factory where social visionaries from all over the world can come together and can exchange their big dreams and also learn from catalysts or from teachers how to realize these big dreams. Well, where should this center be, this global dream factory? And we said, this center should be somewhere central in the world. And while we were looking for a place, we received an email from Naveen Ramachandran, a Keralite, and he had read an article about us in the New York Times. And he invited us to Trivandrum and said, come here and I show you Kerala. And he showed us the beauty of Kerala for over a month. And we were amazed by the greenery, by the rivers, by the backwaters, by the mountains, by the ocean, by 9 different types of bananas, by all these fruits and vegetables and amazing flowers, a birthplace of martial art, of Ayurveda, and a long tradition of international exchange. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to just close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to imagine the tip of India. The tip of India situated right between Africa and Asia. Africa on one side, Asia on the other side. Doesn't it look a little bit like a springboard? To me it does. Huh? And isn't that the best place to be when we are thinking of a world vision incubator, of a springboard for ethical social innovators who jump out there and spread the flavor of Kanthari, of Kerala's Kanthari out in the world? Now, a couple of days ago, I even heard that the magnetic equator is running through Trivandrum. I mean, where can you be? Where otherwise can you be than in Trivandrum? So now, when we want to transform Trivandrum to a hub of visionaries, we have to work together as a team. And we all have to allow ourselves to dream big. And yes, there will be people always who try to discourage you, and who try to say, well, nobody wants to come down to Trivandrum. But you know what? Just turn the map upside down, and then Trivandrum is right at the top of India. And these people, they will go on, and they tried to insist, and they say, well, stop dreaming. Stay on the ground. Don't grab for the stars. You are too small for making such a significant change. And then I want you, Keralites and Trivandrumites, I want you to stand strong and reply, just bite into a Kanthari, and you know a small chili can make a huge difference. Thank you very much.